Hello, in this video we're going to look at Activity 20 in the BrightSparks for Kids guide. In this activity we're going to investigate the resistance of a component, and the component we're going to use is a light dependent resistor, or LDR, and you can see the circuit symbol here and you can see our two yellow terminals. Resistance is measured in ohms, and we can measure the resistance of our component using a multimeter. Now you can see all the different scales around the dial of our multimeter, but here you can see we have an ohm symbol, and these scales here are all various different ohm scales, and it starts down the bottom here. And we have one here, 2000 microohms, then 200 ohm scale, 2000 ohm scale, a 20 kilo ohm scale, a 200 kilo ohm scale, a 20 mega ohm scale, and a 200 mega ohm scale. Now these scales might vary depending on the multimeter that you're using. The scale that we're going to use for this activity on this multimeter is the 200 kilo ohm scale. Now we have three sockets on our multimeter here. The one that we're going to use, and we always use when we're using a multimeter, is this COM socket here. And you can see this middle socket here, above it, it says volts, ohms and milliamps. So we're going to use this socket. Now it's important for you to notice that I haven't got conventional circuit set up here. There are no cells and there are no other components wired up in a circuit. So we're not incorporating this into a circuit because that possibly would affect the reading that we get for this specific component. Now I'm going to connect a lead here into COM and connect that to our terminal here on our light dependent resistor, or LDR. The next lead is going to go into the socket marked volts, ohms and milliamps on my multimeter, and that is going into the other terminal of our LDR. Now I'm going to turn the multimeter on and I'm going to switch it to the 200 kilo ohm setting. Now straight away I can see that I have a reading, and we're now going to look at how our LDR operates. If I put my finger over the LDR, you can see that we have a reading around 5 kilo ohms, and our LDR has a 5 kilo ohm rating. Now if I take my finger off, you can see that our reading has decreased. So we're showing that the more light that this LDR receives, the brighter the environment it is in, the lower the resistance is. So the resistance decreases with light. If I put my finger over the LDR, you can see that the resistance increases. I hold that up. You can see that the resistance increases. So the darker the environment around the LDR, the higher the resistance. I can also show that by using my torch. If I put my torch above it, you can see that our reading has dropped to 0. So the resistance of our component is at its lowest when we have the most amount of light on it. Now you can test various different components, maybe bulbs, switches. You can investigate and experiment. We're going to have a look at another component in the next activity. We're going to have a look at a thermistor.